Good evening, Goodman Games fans, and welcome to another episode of the Scrivenery, where we're here to talk to you about more topics related to third-party publishing. And of course, one of the ways that as a third-party publisher you can get your product out there is through an online market space. And the largest of those is a site known as DriveThru RPG. So for your benefit, we have brought in our guest today, Brooke Whitney, is a representative from DriveThru RPG, and she's going to be here to talk to us about what they can do for you. My name is Ed Stanek, Oregon Games, and this is my co-host,
Trevor Stamper of Blind Visionary Publications. And welcome, Brooke.
Yes, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Brooke Whitney. I am a partner relations rep on the DriveThru RPG side, and I'm very excited. I work mostly with newer partners, so this is an amazing opportunity for me to be here.
That's wonderful. It's a great opportunity for us too, because what we're hoping to talk about today is to help those Goodman Games third-party publishers who want to get involved in publishing but don't know how to engage with online marketplaces like DriveThru. Kind of, take them through what DriveThru is, how that works, and what kind of resources are there for them to take advantage of and everything. So, I'm sure, Brooke, you're the person to talk to about this. So, we could go ahead and start out. These online marketplaces, and there are many of them, but we're going to focus on DriveThru RPG tonight. It's the largest role-playing game download site store that is, actually legal instead of
that's a good point.
on the internet, right? And there are, I don't know what the current listing is, but there have to be hundreds of thousands of titles right now on DriveThru RPG. And I think we should also recognize the fact that while DriveThru RPG is the main site that Ed and I interact with, there are a whole bunch of affiliated sites as well, right? There's is it Comic RPG, DriveThru Comic and cards as well. So, for instance, I know that Vampire: The Eternal Struggle has an entire line of cards on there, and many other card games existing can be purchased through DriveThru RPG. Essentially, they can print your cards for you and everything as well. DriveThru RPG is a huge marketplace, and it's especially useful for independent role-playing publishers and even big name publishers, right? So Goodman Games markets their products on there, and other large companies do as well. But there have to be thousands of small independent publishers, just like Ed and myself, who are marketing their products on DriveThru RPG. And so, I think, and I think Ed agrees, it'd be great to just start with giving a little slice for those who don't really understand how publishers interact with DriveThru RPG, a little slice of our personal experiences before we kind of hand over most of the episode to Brooke and everything. Personally, I've been a consumer at DriveThru RPG for at least 10 years. Oh, it's got to be longer than that. I think the very first product I bought on DriveThru RPG was back when it was called whatever the previous name of it was, but it was a Monty Cook. Yeah, it was a Monty Cook publication, right? Because Monty Cook Games was looking to put out their D20 source books, and this would have been about 2005, 2006. And so it's been about 15, 17 years that I've been a member of the DriveThru RPG community as a consumer, and then in the last 4 years or so, I have become an actual producer and put products on there. And so I've got all of my associated Tales from the Smoking Worm and Smoking Worm Monograph products on there, including things that I can't find a good distribution channel for otherwise. For instance, some of our Monograph products also have associated, STL files for miniature printing and stuff like this, and we sell those through DriveThru RPG. So it's when you're thinking about putting products on the site, I think it's important to recognize that it's not just a book, right? Something you're going to print on, through DriveThru RPG. It can be files as well. As a matter of fact, DriveThru RPG is my main PDF sharing site, right? So because DriveThru RPG has a wonderful feature of allowing us to give gifts of our PDFs, when I work through Kickstarter, that's where I send out all of my stamped, basically tagged PDFs through and everything too. So if you're getting a PDF from Blind Vision Publications, you're getting it through DriveThru RPG. And that's a fundamental feature in our Kickstarter. We DriveThru RPG's got a great logo, and we solicit that we're going to fulfill through DriveThru RPG. And as a matter of fact, one of the 2 questions I ask on my Kickstarter surveys is, what's your DriveThru RPG email address? And so it's like the first question. It's always the first question. So my experience has been phenomenal with DriveThru RPG. They handle a whole host of things that I don't want to deal with, and they send me kind of quarterly statements, or basically they funnel money over into my PayPal account and everything on a fairly quarterly or sometimes monthly basis, depending on how much it's actually making at the time. And so they're a great resource. How about you, Ed? What's your experiences?
So yeah, mine has been very similar to yours. So again, I really struggle to put a time frame to it, but I've been a customer with DriveThru for many years, and as someone, I always have liked having PDF copies of any of the game books that I've got. And so when I first came across DriveThru, I was just so thrilled to find such a marketplace. And then in 2020 was when I first started my own publishing, and since I was already familiar with DriveThru, it seemed like a natural place to look in terms of a marketplace to sell my own books. And I agree. Like I said, my experience is paralleled yours a lot. I've done one Kickstarter so far. It was just putting my toe in the water, and initially I had held back on that because I thought, the prospect of getting hundreds of books and shipping all those out and stuff, until one of our guests said, "Oh no, I do my Kickstarter fulfillment through DriveThru." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know that was an option." And so that for me, who doesn't want to deal with managing shipping and so forth, that was fabulous. But yeah, I also use it for the digital fulfillment. It's also a very easy way to send out. If someone buys, if I'm at a con and someone buys one of my books at a booth, and I'll say, "Hey, my email address is in there. Take a picture with the book and send it to my email, and I'll use DriveThru to send you a free PDF copy." So it's been an extremely effective means for me to sell my books, and I just cannot imagine. I would be nowhere near the level of success that I've had if I didn't have the DriveThru marketplace as the means to distribute my books. And we'll be getting into some of the particulars later in terms of the tools and support that DriveThru can offer. But I will just say to give a note from my experience, when I have had issues of some kind, I would just say DriveThru has been extremely responsive in terms of getting back to me and getting my issue solved, getting my problem taken care of. And so that for me is something that is extraordinarily high on my list of how I evaluate any business that I interact with. So that being said, let's move on to our conversation with Brooke and get some more information about this marketplace. And since we've talked about DriveThru is the largest RPG download store, Brooke, can you give us put some hard quantification onto that? Just what kind of customer base size does DriveThru RPG deal with?
Yeah, and first I just want to say I'm so heartwarmed by both of your great experiences with DriveThru. The partner relations team seriously put so much effort into making it a great experience, and we try to answer, emails as fast as possible to make sure we're supporting partners as much as possible. So I'm glad that has just been, consistent over the years. But DriveThru gets so many customers. We are seeing hundreds of thousands of users each week on our marketplace, and thousands of new users are signing up every week. And Trevor mentioned previously that there are, thousands of partners. In the past 2 months alone, we've had over 500 new partners sign up. So there are a ton of people that are signing up to publish their products on our platform. And it's honestly so cool to see so many creative ideas being shared in the marketplaces and also being picked up by customers who are looking for those products.
500 in the last 2 months, you say?
Yeah.
Wow, that's striking.
That is.
All right. So as Trevor touched on, there's a lot of different types of materials that you would find that on DriveThru and that you can sell on DriveThru. So let's kind of go down through the list of some of those and what that looks like for each of these different types of products.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, we do have DriveThru cards, DriveThru comics, and DriveThru fiction, and those are for mostly standalone products. So if you have a card game that is just its own system, you can publish that to DriveThru cards. But DriveThru RPG, we also host cards on our site. We also host magazines and stock art and GM screens. So there's so much different content and media that you can publish on our platform. And the best part about it is that it is consistent across the board. So setting up your product is the same, whether it's a PDF or an MP3 file or an MP4 or an image. It has the same sort of step-by-step. You enter your title, your price, your product description. And we are currently in the process of upgrading our partner tools. They are a bit outdated. Just because our site has been around for a while, but we are updating our publisher facing tools. So we're hoping to get some slick new features. I will post a link to our help tutorial about how to set up a title. But once you've set up one title, you've basically set up a ton. You can use that one as a template for future titles, and you can also customize it so you can check what genre filters your product falls under. You can check what game system your product falls under. And we have customers who are following specific genres. So a customer who is notified to get basically updates whenever someone publishes a tab in fantasy. So, if you publish a product that is a fantasy related game or adventure, then all of those customers who are signed up to receive those notifications will see them. And it's a great way to connect your product with the interested audience, because there's so many people visiting the marketplace every day and so many products coming out. Are there any specific things you guys are more interested in? I actually learned a bit about GM screens myself doing research for this interview, because I've never seen anyone set up a GM screen yet, but I did learn about that.
So let me throw in real quick. We have one question from the Twitch chat. Someone's asking, how many full-time employees at RPG at DriveThru RPG now?
Yeah, so we've expanded a lot because we merged with Roll20 last year. So we have a huge team of over 100 employees, but we're pretty split between those who work mostly on Roll20 and those who work on DriveThru RPG. So I would say the DriveThru specific team, we probably have about 50 people working there. And our partner relations team is small but strong. There are like 6 of us answering emails in the inbox and, holding everyone together. So yeah, it's honestly such a pleasure to work with them.
That is awesome. So you mentioned that you can put up different types of products. So obviously a book is one thing, right? But you mentioned a GM screen. You guys can actually publish GM screens at this point. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and so we allow customers to basically order inserts, and the customer can also add the GM screen itself to their order. And the best part about that is the partner makes a margin on the GM screen as well, even though they're not the ones producing the GM screen, which is very cool. Yeah, and so we send them the print of the GM screen inserts and also the vinyl screen that comes along with it. And they're very high quality products. So once it arrives, the customer can just take the GM screen, put their inserts in, and also reuse the GM screen for any other inserts that they would want to use in the future, which is really cool. And we also have a Help Center article about how to set up your GM screen, because there are very specific specifications for your PDFs to be in. But our partner help center is the best place to get information about how to set up products. We have so many very comprehensive articles that are just being constantly updated to ensure that they are reflecting the most recent updates to our website. So I always recommend new partners go there.
Let me make one bit of input about the GM screen. So I actually took the route of I purchased one of the just the empty screen myself, and I will agree it is a nice, solid, high quality GM screen. It is very durable, and whenever I go to cons, that's my screen, and it's nice. So it's got on both front and back, it's got these slip places where you can put in. The one that I've got is portrait orientation. So basically, you fit an 8.5/11 type size thing in there, and so it's very easy for me to put printouts of some of the common tables on the inside, and on the outside, depending on what games I'm running, I'll print out the module cover of whatever I'm running and stick that in the outer sleeve as a bit of advertisement. But it really is a nice, high quality screen. If anyone's thinking of looking into a new GM screen, I would definitely recommend it. It's really good for con situations because it's quite durable.
That's awesome. I hadn't even known that. See, I've learned something already. This is cool. I think I can. I'm gonna have to investigate that more. So that is very cool, neat. But also audio and video those are possible as well, right? I mean, obviously I mentioned STL files, but if I want to create a soundscape to go with my adventure, I can actually upload that to RPG, a DriveThru RPG, and have that downloaded by people and stuff, so they can actually purchase that. So
yeah, and we have specific labels. So when a customer clicks into your product, they can see this is an MP3. And we also even have audio previews. So a customer can sort of preview it and hear a little snippet of the product that you're selling them, which will just get them interested and more likely to buy. And we always recommend that partners use our preview functions because it's a great way to sort of engage with the audience a bit more and get them to check out from their cart. But yeah, the labeling system is great. We have labels for STL files, MP3, MP4, images, PDF. So basically whatever sort of document that you're trying to upload, there's a way to basically let your customers know that's what you're uploading.
That's amazing. So there is a whole host of essentially digital file features, just a bevy of things for us to use. And can you discuss just briefly, because I'm pretty sure that some of our audience will want to know this, what's the relationship between DriveThru and the partner, right? The person who is the publisher. What does that relationship look like? What are the what are the features, right? What can the publisher expect to see, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, DriveThru, I consider us to be very hands-on because we are constantly engaging with the Discord, the community Discord that we have for DriveThru RPG and Roll20, and we're always answering questions, getting involved. My manager of partner relations, Meredith, she will go in and edit partners' product descriptions to make them better, to add images, to add, footers linking to their other products. And she just does this, of her own accord without being asked. And it's just because we really want to see everyone succeed and we want to get these amazing products into the hands of customers who will love them. So I think that being a partner on DriveThru isn't just being like a sea in a sea of faces. You will know who partner relations is, and you will be able to ask us questions, and we will help you every step of the way. And like both of you mentioned, when it comes to support with your print products, we basically take a lot of the work of production and distribution and all of those concerns, and we take them off the shoulders of the partners so partners can focus on doing what they do best, which is creating great games. And so, our customer service team will take care of replacements if your customer orders a book and it arrives damaged or it arrives with an error. Like, they'll just replace it. There's no need for the partner to pay out of pocket for that. And I think it's just an amazing way for anyone getting started who doesn't want to shoulder all of those, extra stress of the distribution chain. We basically do that for them, and we'll help them every step of the way.
One product type that we didn't hit on that I want to mention, make sure people are aware of in case they've missed. I know we've talked about this numerous times in past episodes, but artwork is also digital artwork is also sold on DriveThru as a category that you can search through. And I will say for publishers, especially publishers like myself who have not an artistic bone in their body. The stock art available is a really great asset. This is a route where you can get some very affordable artwork to put into your books, even some of them that are covers that are intended as full-size book covers. And so, or if you happen to be someone who's also an artist and you want to sell your artwork on there, I know I've seen our own Goodman's own Brad McDevitt, for example, has some of his stock art up there. So that's certainly an avenue to keep in mind, both as a customer and a distributor. So as we talk about the distribution process that DriveThru provides, let's talk a little bit about how that actually goes. Again, I'm assuming that most of our followers, our viewers, are going to be thinking in terms of book publishing, and so a lot of our focus is going to deal with that. But let's talk some about for me, certainly one of the big attractions was that this is that the DriveThru site is a very professionally built site that is handling all the e-commerce, and so it's something I don't need to concern myself at all with, and it does it all very smoothly. But let's talk some about then how the distribution works for someone's book, both a digital version and a print version, and then how some of the e-commerce mechanisms function.
Yeah. With a digital title, it's super easy. Once you set it up as a brand new partner, your product will go through an approval queue, and I handle those. So I'm looking at every single title new partners publish to DriveThru RPG. And I'll basically check to make sure, does it have a product description? Does it have a cover that, people will be able to recognize this is this product? And I will reach out and I'll provide my feedback on, the game itself. I'll be like, hey, this is really beautifully laid out and you've done a great job at designing this. And also, we recommend adding a more detailed product description so customers will get a better sense of what your product is all about. And in that way, I am basically seeing what our new partners are coming up with day by day, and I'm approving those manually. And also, when someone has 2 titles with us that are at least a month old and are paid, then they get verified so they can sort of begin to set their digital titles live whenever they want to, and they don't have to go through that approval process anymore. And we just do that so that partners know how to use our tools and they're familiar and comfortable with the site and aware of all of our guidelines. And it's a great way to basically have an onboard. So you're, as a partner, you're not just getting thrown into the deep end. Like, I'm still there to help sort of guide you and show you what it means to create a great and beautiful product listing. And as far as the print on demand side, it is a bit more intensive because you'll have to convert your digital files to be ready for print. And we have a number of help center articles about that as well, basically walking you through how to set up a print file in InDesign or Affinity Publisher, which is a much more affordable layout option. We also recommend partners to message and send us their digital files that are being made ready for print, because we'll check them before you submit them. And we will make sure that they meet our printer's specifications, so you don't have to order a proof, then get it back, and then be like, why are there errors? And then we're like, oh, well, you didn't have this one checkbox marked. So we will encourage them to email us at partnerrelations@roll20.net. And we will actually send those to our print production team, who will review them. And we can tell the partner, hey, you need to make sure that your bleeds are set up correctly. Otherwise, this is going to print very funkily when you get it back. And so that's a really easy way that we can support partners, by making sure they don't need to go through that proofing process 15 times.
Let me just say that for someone, if there's someone who's going to be new to the process, I would highly recommend taking advantage of that service, because I can't tell you, because I did not, because I didn't really grasp that at the beginning, and I didn't really understand the extent to which the faux pas that can happen with a print setup. And so I went through several unnecessary proofs that I could have avoided if I'd have said, hey, can someone take a look at this and tell me, is this going to fly or not?
Yeah, we want to save people that headache.
It would seem to me that a digital, a good second set of second eyes on a digital proof is invaluable, especially if it's free, right? I mean, you can't beat that. And that in conjunction with, especially if you've never printed an actual physical proof, at least the first time, so you understand how that digital proof translates into a real product. But after that, I have moved. We used to heavily physically proof our products before we printed them, and as I've gotten through about 10 or 15 products, that's become much less. Every once in a while, I'll be like, I need a physical proof of this because we're doing something strange, right? and I want to make sure that it goes correctly the first time. Or if we need to fix it, I want to make sure it's fixed before I send it out to 500 or whatever backers and stuff. But for the most part, I've actually come to very much rely on and trust digital proofing far more than I did at the beginning. I think it's a really nice process, and I've seen it implemented a couple of different ways. But yeah, anytime you can see what your product should look like on paper, on a screen, and what I find really interesting is when the digital proofs can highlight where there are flaws that you don't see.
Yeah.
So it changes the size aspect because you're looking at it on a monitor versus what you're seeing when you're like print it out yourself, and it's a very useful process. So I don't think it completely replaces a physical proof, at least some of the time, but definitely a digital proof is invaluable. So it's something that everybody should take advantage of.
Yeah. And, colors can look incredibly different from your computer screen to the print. So we always, tell partners, make sure that you're ordering your proof and you're looking through it thoroughly to make sure, it's not in like the wrong language or, it has the correct interior. And as far as the book timeline goes, partners will submit their print files once they're ready. It will take about 3 to 5 days to go through pre-media processing with our printer. And that's just to make sure they can be printed, which isn't a perfect system, unfortunately. Sometimes we have things slip through the cracks and then a partner is like, well, this is really weird. Why did my book turn out like this? And we're like, that should have been rejected by our printer. Dang it. But it works most of the time. So it's always good to make sure that your files are passing those checks. And then you can order your proof, which takes about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on your location. And once you receive it and you are happy with it, then you can set it live on DriveThru. And that's just to make sure that once your book gets sent out to all of your customers, it doesn't have any like typos. It doesn't have any sort of print problems that were present in the files. And it's a great way to just make sure that you are offering the highest quality print product you can to all of your excited customers.
Absolutely. I got 2 things. First of all, a question for you, Brooke. DriveThru RPG as a digital site is available worldwide, right? Anybody in Australia or Austria or Japan or anywhere with an internet connection can get the DriveThru RPG and purchase your product, which is huge. Your audience is magnified in that fashion. But what about the print capabilities? Do you guys print on different continents? If I need to distribute to Europe, if I need to distribute to Australia, if I need to distribute to Asia, can you guys do that for me?
Yes, we currently have one print partner in the United States that ships to all of North America and another one in the UK, which ships to basically the rest of the world. But we are always looking to expand our print options, and we are trying to get printers in places where shipping is incredibly expensive and very hard to be accessible for those people who live, in like Australia or on the other side of the planet. So there are basically every country we can ship to. I believe there are a couple of exceptions to this. I don't think we can ship to like Russia. And then there might be one more country that I'm forgetting that we can't ship to. But aside from that, we also distribute print products wherever. Shipping may be more expensive depending on where you live, but we are constantly trying to improve that to make these products, as easy for customers to get as possible.
Yeah. So this is something that if you're running a Kickstarter or even just selling things directly, you can look into those shipping costs from the UK manufacturer, for instance, and find that the prices are very different shipping to Europe than they would be shipping from the US. And so this is a way to drive down those international shipping rates. And I know publishers who print locally with one printer in the US, but print internationally with DriveThru specifically for that purpose, and they say, you're going to get a Lightning source, a DriveThru print, or whatever. I guess Lightning source is your U.S. partner, but you're going to get a DriveThru print if you're international, and you're going to get a print from another another printer if you're printing in the U.S. or if you're located in the U.S. So that's really great. Oh, and I've totally lost my.
Was the other one the question from the Twitch chat?
Oh, there was a question from the Twitch chat, right? So we have a question in the Twitch chat, Brooke. It's in terms of books. Is there something, is there a price point that DriveThru internally recognizes as the kind of the optimal price,
the sweet spot?
Yeah, is there a sweet spot in terms of pricing, or is there not one? And this is a really interesting question. If you've got I don't know if you have an answer for it, you may not, but if you do, this is something that a lot of our viewers would want to know, right? Where is that pricing sweet spot?
We have a number of guides written by, the manager of partner relations who has been with DriveThru for 10 plus years, and also our former CEO of One Bookshelf, who now works, with Roll20 and DriveThru RPG, Steve Wick, and they have done incredibly comprehensive write-ups of sort of our recommendations for how to price your product. When it comes to books, you have to at least charge the print-based price. So however much it costs to manufacture. Yeah, for physical copies. However much it costs to manufacture the pages and the type of book, we have standard and we have premium color and we have black and white versus full color. So, at least the print-based price, and then the margin that you set is largely up to you. We've noticed, some common things like having a 0.99 is always popular. And we've also noticed that recently, consumers are willing to pay more for a higher quality product. For a lot of our history, people try to, sell as low as they can in order to target an audience who are just, wanting to pick up anything. But we've noticed even when it comes to digital products, pricing up is not necessarily a bad thing, as people will be, they'll understand that you're doing that and pricing it at that point because it's a quality product, not just because you're trying to rip them off, right? And these PDFs are so beautiful, and they provide so much value because you buy it one time and then you just have it forever, right? So, I think more and more of the market in tabletop spaces are willing to pay more for a really fantastic product.
And I think actually you just touched on something that I think is worth highlighting about DriveThru RPG is a purchase once, have forever type of mentality. You have for those of you who are not DriveThru RPG consumers, and I don't know how many of you there would be, but we'll just get it out there so that you're aware of it. You have a bookshelf, right? Because it used to be one bookshelf, and you have a bookshelf, and you can download. As long as you have an internet connection, you can download anything you have ever purchased. So those original Monty Cook games, those original third edition, products that were D20 products and everything, I can still download those if I need them. What's wonderful about that is this. I believe in the physical product. I think having one and holding it and using it at a game table is a thoroughly enjoyable process. But there are times when I'm sitting at a convention and the only thing I've got is my phone, right? Mm-hmm. And I can still log on to DriveThru RPG, download a product onto my phone or an iPad, and quickly scroll through it to find an answer to a question or find something that I need in a pinch. And so this, by the way, includes my own products, right? Because I can download my own products at no cost to myself. And so it's a great way if I'm in a pinch where I need to show someone something and I don't have that physical product with me, that I can just quickly download it and show them this is what this looks like. And so yeah, it's a really useful feature. Obviously, it's useful as a consumer, but what I wanted to highlight is it's really useful as a producer, because you never know where you're going to need to show somebody something that you don't otherwise. I mean, I don't carry my entire publishing, right? That would be insane and bulky and stuff. So and I know Ed doesn't, because his is really bulky. And so yeah, so these are features of DriveThru that you can really take advantage of. And when you're at Gen Con on the dealer floor and you need to show someone something, that's a great time to take a second, download it, and then you can show it and talk about it.
Well, another application or a feature related to that is I don't care how many times you proofread your book. Yeah. There's always going to be a point after you've released it, you find an issue, you find a typo, you find a oh, I can't believe I forgot to put in the description for this magic item or whatever. Now, putting out new copies or new version of your print work, okay, that's not something that's got a little bit higher bar. You don't necessarily want to do that all the time because you got to get a new proof and so forth. But if I want to update the digital version of my book on the site, all I do, I put together a new PDF copy. I upload it in place of the old one. And then anyone who's already purchased it will get an email saying, hey, there's a new version of this book. Give them the opportunity to download the latest version. So if I have to make an update, I can easily have a mechanism whereby my customers have the latest copy, the latest iteration of whatever it is that I've developed. So that's pretty handy too.
And Ed, you have reminded me what my other point was. And so my other point was this, and it's a question for you, Ed. Do you print, once you get to a final version, whether you update it later or not, do you print and send yourself a DriveThru RPG copy of what you're producing? So
there's, you get the proof copy.
Right. But the proof copy's got errors, and you're going to fix those and move on. And
well,
so I always write proof on the back of my book. If
right.
It's a proof copy, I literally write proof on it so that I don't confuse it later with something that isn't a proof copy.
Well, and then if my initial proof has problems, and in almost every case they have, and once I fix those, all right, then I generate a new print version. And then I need to get a new proof before I can make that new print version live. And so for each time I've got a print version that is going to go live, before it goes live, I have a new proof of that print version. And so at the very least, I will keep that latest proof copy as my personal copy. There are also times when I'll order a couple of extra. I also keep extras on hand to have my own personal inventory so that when I go to conventions, I've got some that are ready to go. Especially for the smaller conventions. For the big ones, I'm going to order, for Origins, Gen Con, I'm going to put in a specific order for, X number of copies to take to the Goodman booth. But if I'm going to Lexicon, I'm going to CincyCon, whatever, it's nice to have a couple copies of everything on my shelf, so that as I go to that small con, I've got a couple copies that I can take with me.
Yeah. So here's how I do it. When I have a proof copy, I write proof on the back, and I actually physically write in the book, right? And I will circle a problem, and I will actually make a note, input it on this date, and correct it on this date, so that I have a record that I have made the change. Because I can't tell you how many times I come across an error, and I'm like, oh, I inputted this. And so if I've circled it and dated it, I know I'm done with it. And sometimes I highlight that too, just to catch my attention. But when I'm finally done, if I'm just updating words, let's say I've misspelled a couple things incorrectly, or I forgot a "the" or something, I just go to a digital proof and look at that and say, when I re-uploaded the PDF, is it there? And if it's there, I don't bother to order another physical proof, right? Because I trust digital proofs well enough that unless I'm making a significant change, something other than word choice, I don't order one. But what I do order is I order one consumer proof for myself, and I write on the back of it corrections, right? And I know this is a post-proof process book now. It has corrections on it. And I keep that with me when I'm running games on a weekly basis. They sit on a shelf. And if I come across something that has an error, I pull it down really quickly, circle it, and put, in note to myself, I need to make a correction and what that correction should be. And then when I am going to go and edit my book again, because I may accumulate many different edits over a period of time, that's when I open my book, quickly go through and look for anything that isn't dated, make all those corrections, and then I put it back on the shelf. And I use it again and again as a proof copy, right? But I also make notes in the margins. It'd be good to, if I'm running something, this gets really DCC specific, Brooke, but if I'm running something and I have a patron idea or something, I will write it in the margins to myself to keep my own notes flowing and everything. And then as I go through that, I'll randomly come across it again, and it'll just jar my brain. I'll be like, oh, I really need to write that. And
Just
so,
as a side note, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, absolutely. What's your side note?
Just as a side note, in case someone else will find this useful, early on in our first publication, I reached a point where, and some of this was because it was my first book, got the first proof back. Oh, this looks bad. That looks bad. Okay, I need to make some changes, get a new proof. It quickly reached a point where it was a little bit difficult to keep track of what was going on with each version. So now what I do is I've got a spreadsheet where I track all my publication stuff, prices, and all this other thing. I also have a section for versions. On my credits page at the very bottom, I've got revision number 1.01 or whatever. And in my spreadsheet, I'll say what happened, what was release version 1.01. Well, that was a correction of some typos, such and such. And did I do that? Did I update only digital, or did I update that print as well?
Yeah.
So for someone who's just coming into the process, I would recommend tracking changes that you make, and have something actually in your book to indicate a version number, so that you can very easily tell which iteration of the book this is.
Yeah. See, so I always note the publisher and the print number. So this is print run. This is a second printing. This is a third printing. This is a fourth printing from this publisher. And so, and I track things that way. But I don't have an Excel spreadsheet for my corrections. That's a really great idea though. And so it's something that if you're having to do a lot of corrections, versioning is a useful thing. And I think maybe we could touch on that, not tonight, but I think that might be a nice topic for maybe some logistics conversations and everything down
talking about revisioning.
Yeah, and keeping notes and keeping track of what you're doing with things. It can get complicated. Like I have a hierarchical drafting system that I use within my file management. So this is logistics. It's way outside of DriveThru RPG. Ed and I are deep in the weeds here. So let's jump out of that and back
right.
to but
so
I feel like I'm learning stuff right now.
So just touching quickly on the process as you dive in, you get your new product set up. You've got the option to associate digital files with it. Okay, that's an easy thing to do. You upload your PDF, your whatever other file you've got, and associate it with the product, and the product's going to have a description, it's going to have your price, etc. There's also, by the way, in case people don't know, there's an option when you set it up. If you set up a print version of that on that product, which of course, as we've said, you're going to have. So for the print versions, you're going to have a PDF that's formatted specifically for print, and one that specifically is your cover. These are two separate files. You get those put up there. You define the print version. You have the option then to say, if someone buys my print version, they get my digital one at a reduced cost or free, for example.
Yeah.
So that's always a nice perk that customers like. And so that's how you get, and then the digital copy, someone goes on there, they buy the digital copy. There's an option to have it watermarked with their account name on it, for example. And so that stamps that, and then they immediately get sent the file. So that's great. And as Trevor said, it also keeps it in their bookshelf there. So the e-commerce side of it, which is a huge benefit of DriveThru. Let's talk some about that. How as I've got whatever, if I'm just selling a digital, that's I'm just, as Trevor likes to put it, I'm just printing free money then, because there's no production cost to that. But it was something that we do need to talk about, is that whatever you sell, because of the services they provide, DriveThru has a portion of the profit, and that differs based on exclusive or non-exclusive. So Brooke, how about you tell us about that?
Yeah,
we get a lot of questions about exclusivity, so I'd be happy to talk about it. We have exclusive. So when you create your account for the first time, you will be able to choose whether you want to be exclusive or non-exclusive. So as an exclusive partner, you get 70% royalties on every product that you sell. So whatever customer price you set, you're making 70% earnings on that. But you also get to have a priority for, deal of the day. We have a banner rotation that specifically is for exclusive on DriveThru RPG titles. And, we also have ensured that exclusivity doesn't apply to print products. So you can be exclusive with us and sell your print titles anywhere. And exclusivity also allows you to sell on a personal website. So if you're just selling on DriveThru RPG and your own marketplace that you've set up, that's completely fine. We, for non-exclusive partners, they receive 65% of the customer price they set on a product. And we still, of course, offer the same amount of, partner relation support to non-exclusive partners, but they are also able to sell their products on any marketplace on the website.
like the Goodman Games website, for example.
Yeah.
Right. So let me ask you a question here. Let me just intercede if you don't mind, Brooke. So Goodman Games also allows us to sell physical products through their site. And one of the things that people have started doing is attaching free PDFs on that. Does DriveThru consider giving away a product like a digital product like that to break the exclusivity contract with DriveThru, or is it only a sale option? Right. So there is a second license that you can get through Goodman where you are selling, you're doing e-commerce with them. If I'm not pursuing the e-commerce option, I'm just offering a free PDF if someone buys a physical copy. Does that break the exclusivity contract with DriveThru? Do you know?
I think historically we have always sort of erred on a very generous ruling because we want to be, on the partner side. So I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that would be allowed. But I would definitely have to double check for sure. We get a lot of people submitting products under the DCC third-party license. So I'm always, double checking with them to make sure. I'm like, did you get permission for this? And they're like, yeah, I did. My product's good to go. So, as far as I understand, we have a ton of people who sell DCC content on DriveThru. Those who are exclusive and also non-exclusive.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, it's something that it might be worth following up on. If you are a third-party publisher, just make sure that you're checking all the boxes correctly so that you're not, stepping on somebody's toes, right? Because it's going to become an increasing feature that Goodman is pursuing, and obviously it's a different audience potentially. And so it's just something you need to make sure you're checking all those boxes and getting everything done right, so you don't get surprised one day.
Well,
but go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, to be specifically clear, to make sure our viewers understand, because I don't want anyone to miss this distinction. So, Goodman Games sells a lot of third-party written products on the Goodman Games website. So, for our publishers, if you want to have your books sold on the Goodman Games website, you are non-exclusive. So make sure that you understand that distinction, and then you weigh. There are, like Brooke said, there are certain benefits that come with being an exclusive publisher, but being non-exclusive means you have the ability to sell on the Goodman site. So you have to weigh that decision yourself, but I just want people to understand that distinction is there, so you don't think, oh well, I'm only selling it on the Goodman site, so that's a separate marketplace, and so that makes you non-exclusive.
Yeah.
Just make sure you've paid attention to those things. So it's always good to not make them.
And we can adjust accounts. So if a partner has never published a title with us, we can swap back and forth until they publish their first title. And once their first title has published, we require a 6 months notice to swap from exclusive to non-exclusive. But we can absolutely make that change. And we can also swap someone from non-exclusive to exclusive at any time. You can just send us an email, partnerrelations@roll20.net.
Cool. So other than e-commerce, which is, as Ed mentioned, huge, right? You also have reporting tools. And actually, I find these to be really helpful. It's, it happens every month or two. I get an email from DriveThru RPG. They say, hey, we've just sent you some money. And I'm like, hey, that's awesome, right? and it just shows up. It's kind of passive. And I really don't do much I let people know that's where you can get the PDFs and everything. And I do sell PDFs through there, but that's not my main market. My main market is a physical product. That's my focus. But it's always great to be able to then, that reminds me to go back and check. And there's a whole series of search tools and everything I can look at sales across my publications for the last 6 months or 90 days or 1 week or whatever. Can you talk a little bit about the types of reporting tools that DriveThru offers the third-party publisher to help them track, first of all, their business, but secondly, reporting on their business, if they're required to. What kind of products do you guys offer in that category?
Yeah, we have two primary tools for this. Our sales report tool has a ton of toggles. So you can run a sales report for individual titles, for all of your titles. You can get really specific about the filter for, specific date periods, etc. And you can also export these to a CSV for, further analysis, or if you need to provide that information to an outside party. We are even working to further improve this tool in our site redesign, because even though it's incredibly comprehensive, there are like a laundry list of other things we want to be able to provide to people. So we're always sort of iterating and getting feedback from people on what is it that would be most helpful to you to see with our tool. And not only that, the sales report tool is great because you can, have it basically give you a summary by purchase, or you can just give an overall summary. So you can really get into the nitty gritty if you want to. And the other tool that I think is a little bit less well known is our title analysis report tool. You can only run these by individual titles, but it will show you how many people have looked at your product, how many people have clicked on your product page, how many wish lists your title is currently on. It can show you other products that were bought with your title, your average ratings, publishers that you share the most orders with. So if your customers are going to another company, that could be an opportunity for collaboration if you guys share a lot of the same audience. And it can also show you, how many coupons customers have redeemed. So going back to your Kickstarter, if you generate a bunch of complimentary copy coupons, which is how we do fulfillment with DriveThru, you can see how many of your customers have redeemed those coupons and how many maybe haven't. And that can give you an idea, of how many people are engaging with your content after your crowdfunding campaign is over, which is just useful data to know. So I really like the title analysis tool for giving you an even more detailed breakdown of, a bunch of stats and figures that can help you sort of iterate on your marketing strategy and your product creation strategy.
Yeah, and this is particularly useful. I can give a personal example of this. We released a free product for the Goodman Games online convention, Cyclops. I can't remember which Cyclops con it was. It was the 2020. Maybe that was the first one. And it's on DriveThru, and you can download it for free right now. That's not a problem. But we started we were there during the con, and it was promoted, and it went out in a grab bag of a list of things people could get as freebies. And we were able to go in and target that and say, okay, we don't know who got the list because we don't know who went to the con completely. We know the people we saw, but beyond that, did we, what kind of sales did we see? Or, they're all free, but what kind of sales did we see for this product the week after the con, 2 weeks after the con, 3 weeks after the con, and things like that? And it helped us understand, how much, how useful that event was for us as a marketing tool, right? That's really cool. And then, like you said, there's an association, so we can go into that product and look at it and say, hey, when they get to download the 2020 freebie, they also purchase our first issue, right? And so, or maybe you find out that your third party publication for Goodman Games is highly associated with Morkborg, right? Maybe you're on the wrong company. You're doing the wrong thing there, but it's good to see where you might have adjacent properties that you could take advantage of as a third party publisher. Yeah,
absolutely. And we also have the ability to, sort of filter out free copies that you might have sold, or if someone is just purchasing at cost, which just means they're only paying the print-based price for Kickstarter fulfillment, you can filter those out as well. So it's incredibly customizable, and it makes it easier to make these sort of like larger strategy decisions as you're sort of looking through the numbers. But, for smaller partners, they may not want to dig into that, and you don't have to. So that's the good thing about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that you can also use as a quick reference along this line, if you pull up the listing for your own product as though you were a customer, underneath your product listing, there's this little running banner sort of thing that says customers who bought this title also bought, and then it shows a bunch of other things. Now, some of those may be your other publications if you have multiple publications, but then you might also see other things that maybe are within the same space as yours, or maybe not. But that's another quick way to give yourself a sense of what kind of other market overlap you might have with people who are interested in some other products.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about marketing and promotion. So I know, and we've touched briefly on this already. There is a little bit of a bump that you get in this respect if you're an exclusive seller. But even as a non-exclusive, which I'm non-exclusive, as I've listed my products, you know, one of the things on the main page is here's some of our new titles, and you know your stuff can still pop up in there. So maybe you can tell us about some of the marketing and promotion type sort of opportunities that are provided by DriveThru.
Yeah, we have a currency called publisher promotion points. And these are points people can earn sort of passively just by publishing a title or just by having a partner account. You're sort of earning these. And as you said, exclusive partners get 20 publisher promotion points every month, and non-exclusive get 10 just automatically, just for having an account. And then, you know, for every $10 you make net sales, you get 1. So of course, as you're selling more, you're getting more partner promotion points, but there is the opportunity for, you know, to be able to save up just by the nature of having an account, which is really cool. We have a few marketing tools that partners really can take advantage of. The biggest one is our deal of the day. They are featured on the front page of DriveThru RPG, and they are normally the best way to spend these points just because thousands of customers visit our site each day, and having your product featured in the top corner right there in the center is an amazing way to get new eyes on a title. But we also have a number of other promotional tools like banner ads. You see these at the bottom of every page on DriveThru, and you can spend your points to buy impressions. So that's how many people are seeing your banner and, you know, even clicking on it, which would be great because it will lead right to your product. We also have featured product messages, and these appear pretty prominently on the homepage. Like if you just scroll down a bit on DriveThru, you'll always see a featured product message. And they also show up on category pages that are relevant to the featured product. So if your game is in a certain game system and a customer is browsing under that filter specifically, they can also see your featured product there as well. And outside of, you know, using these points, we have a weekly newsletter. We love to feature indie creators in this newsletter, and as well as our bigger publishers who are always coming out with exciting releases. And we only feature new titles. So that means we're always getting recommendations from people. And also, you know, as we DriveThru team are sort of looking through these products, you know, we're seeing this is really exciting. We want to recommend this for the newsletter. We just pass that on to marketing, and they will send that out to basically any customer who's signed up on DriveThru RPG to receive that newsletter. And of course, we're always happy to boost tweets on DriveThru RPG's Twitter account, which has over 30,000 followers. If Twitter is still around when whoever is watching this is watching this, you know, we're always happy to boost that as well, which is free for now.
Okay, well, yeah, we have no control over that. Okay, so just in a brief nutshell, when someone's getting started, how do they create a publisher account? What are the steps that happen at that initial point?
Yeah, if you have a customer account on DriveThru, you've already done half of the work. All you need to do is scroll to the very bottom of the page, and you'll see a little in the footer, you'll see a sell with DriveThru, how to sell on DriveThruRPG.com link. And when you click on that, it will take you to the page. And I am currently working on revamping this onboarding process because we also have community content programs, which I would love to talk about later. And, you know, some people get confused. Am I publishing for community content? Am I publishing on DriveThru as a partner? Like, what kind of account do I need? And so I would like to make this process a little bit easier, but just so everyone who is watching knows, clicking on how to sell on DriveThruRPG.com is the best way to sell original products or products published under a third-party license. So the DCC third-party license counts for this. The 5e OGL counts for this. You know, Morkborg, a ton of huge games have third-party licenses, and this is how you'll set up your account. At this point, you can choose whether you want to be exclusive or non-exclusive. And of course, as I said, before you've published your first title, we're happy to change. You know, if you made a mistake, if you made a misclick, we can always swap that over for you. And we can also change your partner name. Sometimes people want to change that. Sometimes people set up a title and they're like, can I delete this? You know, we can do that too. So even as a brand new publisher setting up and getting started, just because you've made a mistake doesn't mean you need to delete your account or make a new one. We can always help, you know, sort of fix and patch up anything that has gone awry.
That's, you know, that's awesome. I guess I've never had a problem with getting through the, you know, the account process. One thing I will add to that is it's certainly possible to have a team of people work on your DriveThru RPG account, right?
Yeah.
And so you shouldn't, as a creator, if you're not a solo creator, you know, maybe you're the driving engine and the writing person or something, but if you have a team who helps you, and I think teams are really important, you know, you can always give access to a couple of different people who can get in there and help you do things. And so, you know, like I'm not the most tech savvy guy there is. And so I've got, you know, like Brian Gilkison, who actually uploads most of our files, and he just does that for me. You know, he gets, you know, it comes under part of what he does, you know, for the team and everything, but that's his specialization. And he's really mastered navigating DriveThru RPG in a way that was just a little foreign to me when we got started several years ago.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so don't think that you have to go it alone. First of all, you have Brooke and the rest of the relations team there to help you, but you can also, you know, divest some of that workload over to your partners and teammates, and so that's always an option as well.
And it's super easy to connect other accounts to your partner account. You can, you know, sometimes people start off as an individual and then later on they're like, well, now I have, you know, a company. Can I change my name? Yes, you can. And you can add people to your partner account so they can sort of get in there and also do, you know, sign up for promotions or set up a title. It's super easy.
Yeah, it's a great process. So I've never had a problem with it.
All right, so
go
ahead.
Go ahead, Ed.
One of the things we mentioned just briefly before, you can use DriveThru as a Kickstarter fulfillment route. How this works is Kickstarter will generate for you a spreadsheet that is a list of the names, addresses, email accounts, etc. And then when you one of your options on your publisher page, you just select I'm going to send out copies, and you have an option to upload a spreadsheet of that's a list of recipients, and it's a very automatic process. It just goes through that spreadsheet, makes each one of those as a fulfillment order, sends it out, gives you a bill, you pay that for the whole set, and you're good. So it's certainly now you do want to check and make sure that your fields are in that you get them from Kickstarter. You might have to rearrange some of them to be in the order that you need to get. But so look at it will prompt you for, hey, here's the fields that we need. All right, you make sure you've got that set up in the right way, and and it'll take care of your whole fulfillment, and that's digital and print. So it's a very convenient way for dealing with Kickstarter fulfillment.
Yeah, and let me give you another tip too. If you're a third-party creator, one of the great things that the DriveThru RPG does, because we fulfill digitally through them, is they create essentially a custom download code, right? That's their free coupon, and you can download that list of coupon codes. And so we download it and then re-embed it back into our survey, you know, our basically our spreadsheet, so that if we ever have a customer who is like, hey, I never got my DriveThru code, and it's been 5 or 6 years, I don't have to go into DriveThru and do a search to find that. I literally have them by name or by backer number or something like that, all of that information. And I have the original code that DriveThru generated for us, the original coupon code. And so I can send that to them usually within a couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. And then once I've got that, now sometimes those coupon codes go out of date, you know, or they change, or if there's a corruption or something. it's very easy to generate a follow-up, but you got to go back into DriveThru to do that. But this allows you to stay outside that DriveThru system, be very agile, and quickly respond to your customers when they have that problem. And so, I probably have 1 or 2 customers who email me or message me through Kickstarter every year. It's not often. Sometimes it's years after the Kickstarter is over. I mean, because I kind of stopped looking at Kickstarters that I haven't, websites that I haven't looked at or I haven't touched. I've fulfilled it. It's done. And it's been done for 2 years. And every once in a while, I'll get an email through there saying, hey, I never got my digital fulfillment for this. And I can still go back and find that and at least get them a response and then tell them, hey, if this code doesn't work anymore, just let me know. And then we'll follow up and do the more detailed response. But so, you can upload and download that information. So don't think you can't. And it's great to have on hand at a moment's notice.
Yeah, and we have 2 separate ways of doing print fulfillment. We have the ability for the customer to pay for the print-based price and shipping, or the partner can pay for the print-based price. So depending on the sort of pricing setup and how much you've collected from your backers, there are options for how you can fulfill your print products. But digital products are always free for you and your backer. They're super easy to distribute. And we also offer to send 2 emails per crowdfunding campaign per partner. So even if you're a new partner, if any customers have downloaded your product, those are existing customers, and we will email them on your behalf to tell them and notify them that you have, a Kickstarter campaign going on, which is a great way to build up an ecosystem. It's basically like a little mini mailing list, hosted through DriveThru. And it's a great way to get in touch with people who are already clearly interested in your products and will probably want to see and hear more about what you're doing now.
So how does someone go about getting that
That's my question.
to happen?
Yeah,
we have a template in our help center as well, but you basically just email partnerrelations@roll20.net and you request for us to send an email, and I can post that link here in the chat. It is super simple. You just give us the text that you want, the subject line that you want us to include, and once we have that, we will send it out on the date that you choose. We do ask that people give us a bit of a few days notice at least, but other than that, we'll send up to 2 per campaign, and even to a pre-launch page if you want to notify people before it's even gone live. So it's really cool.
That is awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Very helpful. And a great marketing tool, because as a third-party publisher, you have to think about it. If you're running Kickstarters, and I think Kickstarters intuitively, because that's my main marketing focus, right? That's what Kickstarter is it's a marketing strategy. But that's where I interact with that audience mainly. But there's a whole host of people who have purchased my products through DriveThru that have never seen my Kickstarter page. They may not even know that I run Kickstarters. And so, yeah, I will definitely be taking advantage of that coming up. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how does the publisher get paid for products that get sold on DriveThru?
Not to put too fine a point on it.
We have a 30-day holding period on earnings for unverified partners, and for verified partners, it's only 15 days. That's just to be sure, the payments have all been processed and everything's good to go. Once that period is up, partners can set their account to automatically receive monthly payments by PayPal or by check. So they can also choose to automatically be paid at the end of the month or opt into just manually cashing out. And that's if you really want to keep track of, that cash flow. Verified partners who collaborate on projects can also easily set up royalties that automatically go to other partners' earnings. So if you're not verified yet, you can just contact Partner Relations, and we're happy to set that up for you, because we understand collaboration is a really big part of the TTRPG space, and we want to help people set that up. So, if you have if you're going 50-50 with someone, it will automatically just distribute those earnings into both of your accounts every month. And you will need PayPal or, need to be able to have a check delivered to you. Those are currently the only 2 options that we have for getting paid, but it's always on time. And we also have an accounting email that people can contact, which is bmonk@roll20.net if there are any problems that you're facing.
Yeah. And like I said, it has been like clockwork. I don't know what settings I have set it to right now. It just shows up. But there's another cool feature you should know about getting paid by DriveThru, and that is you can roll that money into the online market itself. And as a producer, you have that money sitting there, And if there's a product you want to download, or there's a product you want to buy for whatever, whether it's print or digital, you can use those profits to purchase that directly. And so, yeah, I've used that numerous times when I hear about a product that I'm interested in checking out. On the spur of a moment, it's always that way, and and everything. And it's just great to know. There's, as a matter of fact, as far as I can remember, that cushion has always been there. I've always been able to go. What you'll see is a little a credit option. It'll be a button, just
transfer
like
from seller credit.
Yeah. And so it'll have the amount of whatever the product is in your basket, right? So it'll say, do you want to move this over? And you'll click yes. You just click that button option, and then that money moves over, and then your items are purchased. So,
well, as a publisher, one way that I find that's very useful is I get a lot of stock art on DriveThru.
Yeah, do you?
So one of the things that my book revenue does is it pays for the next books. And so as I'm putting together the next one and I'm buying stock art to go into that book, that's all I got to do is just say, pull that money from my publisher earnings.
Yeah, absolutely. And, stock art is a great option. As we've talked about before, Brad McDevitt, I believe, has over 700 stock art images. And many of the artists that you see on something like the DCC Rocks Facebook page and everything, who advertise or show their art there routinely, also have stock art options. There's thousands of pieces, all the way down the individual pieces of equipment that you can purchase, or suites of equipment and stuff. And so it's a great resource. And the digital files just show up, and then you can manipulate them. And I believe the last time, I don't know, Ed, you probably did this more recently than me. I once downloaded some of Brad McDevitt's, and it came with the art, but it also came with the licensing agreement in a text format. Is that something that
they often do? It depends on the artist.
Yeah.
And any given artist will usually have a pattern where they will attach a file with the licensing agreement.
Yeah.
To tell you what your appropriate use is.
Yeah, and that's wonderful too, because each artist is going to be a little different. And so if they've taken advantage of that, it's just a convenient way to have on your computer, and you can save it in a folder and everything. But remember, you can go back to your shelf and look it up when you need to, if there's a problem, right? Because you purchase that, and you're going to be able to download it an infinite number of times, and everything. So so those are wonderful features of DriveThru. And Ed, that's a great way to use that money that's sitting there, right?
Yeah.
To pay for the next product.
So Brooke, tell us about this community content.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the easiest ways that aspiring publishers can get into, sort of break into the community, because there are so many support systems in place. So community content basically allows you to take established IP, intellectual property, from your favorite games and settings. So we have the DM's Guild for Dungeons and Dragons. And that means if you want to publish about the Feywild, if you want to publish about, Eberron, you can do so on the DM's Guild. The primary difference here is that you are making slightly less in royalties in exchange for using the IP, but you're getting an audience that already exists. There are so many D&D players. We have Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite. We have Storyteller's Vault, and we also have the Miskatonic Repository. So we're getting Call of Cthulhu. We're getting all of Onyx Path Publishing's games in there. And it's just a huge existing market for people who already play that game. And your content, will find someone who already loves the game, and they're just looking to expand their library in different ways. We have, Miskatonic Repository, that's for Call of Cthulhu. We have these partners get onto our top best-selling title rotations, which is insane, because we have huge publishers who are, normally dominating that entire banner for weeks on end. And we've seen community content make it up there. So there is an enormous market. You can take advantage of the fact that an audience for the game already exists, and you can use rules and mechanics and setting elements that you're familiar with and turn it into really incredible adventures and supplements. We absolutely recommend for people, you can start off with community content if that's what you're comfortable with, and then you can become a partner on DriveThru RPG. I think, going from the DM's Guild to publishing 5e content using the OGL or the CC is a great way for users to sort of get started, if it may be intimidating to make something that is just using the SRD. Just because, the settings are very familiar to people. And once you start, I think for a lot of people, licensing can be confusing. That's
Yeah.
one of the primary questions that I get, like, what can I publish on DriveThru versus this? So, it's a great way to sort of understand what you can use and what you cannot use in a commercial product on DriveThru. And, it helps, I think, get started, and then you can sort of level up to publishing original content later on once you're more used to it and more comfortable.
That is awesome. Yeah. So Goodman Games right now doesn't have a community content system. Joseph Goodman still maintains pretty tight control over his licensing agreement, and it's a direct relationship with you and Joseph Goodman. But certainly, as these things expand and everything, I could see it happening for Goodman Games. But for those of you who also publish for 5th edition or Pathfinder and everything, those are really great marketplaces. I know that there's a podcast, Miskatonic Missives or
Playhouse.
Yeah. And they cover community content quite a bit and everything.
Yeah.
And so there's also a storytellers. Gosh, I just sent this to somebody recently. It basically is an entire tutorial system on how to learn how to write role-playing material. And many of these DriveThru RPG community content areas are directly accessed by these people. So when you're done, you finish writing your adventure, and then the final act is to upload it to the community content center and everything and stuff, and they walk you through that. And so there's a lot of resources. Which you can do
directly through your customer account. So you don't even need to sign up for an extra account. If you're a customer on DriveThru, you can already start publishing community content, which is really cool.
That is cool. Yeah, absolutely. Well, great. We've talked about a lot of things tonight. This has been a really great conversation, Brooke. I really appreciate you coming on. What are the kind of the common mistakes that you see publishers who are just getting organized or maybe have a little bit more, water under the bridge and everything make? So what are the kind of problems that you see publishers getting into that you often have to help correct?
Yeah, and because I do product approvals, I encountered the sort of same things a lot. And so I made a new partner checklist for product approvals. And this basically outlines the most common sort of errors and reasons why I return a product to a partner and say, hey, can you please adjust this? And then we'll set it live. And that's not adding a cover thumbnail or a very descriptive product description or a preview. Customers, looking through the marketplace are wanting to have their attention grabbed. And when clicking on a product, it's important the customer knows what they're getting from your product. So we have a number of examples of great, simple but effective covers, and also a number of examples of like product descriptions to help inspire people on how to set up their listing to look, really eye-catching. We also have a lot of people who are confused about, community content versus there's a Wizards of the Coast fan content policy, which unfortunately we cannot host on DriveThru. So some people get confused about that. So one of the things that I have included in the checklist is making sure your licenses are all checking out, making sure that you have filtered under the correct rule set. It's not because we don't want your game featured under every OSR category. It's just because customers will not be disappointed if, what you say is true, and when they buy your product, it's exactly what it was promised to be. So someone who's looking for, Dungeon Crawl Classics, if you also list it under OSC, the person who loves OSC is going to be like, I didn't want this DCC title, so now what do I do? So these guidelines are in place to help partners and ensure that they are getting high reviews on their titles because customers are picking it up knowing exactly what it is that they're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. That actually just sparked an experience I've had with DriveThru before. You guys funnel and have a website that links the majority of the licenses that are out there, if I remember correctly, right? And this is a wonderful resource because instead of you having to remember, Monty Cook has a license and Pathfinder has a license and WotC has like 9 licenses and maybe they don't have licenses this week. We don't know. Right? DriveThru RPG actually has part of their website which is focused on licensing, and you can look up and they have a list of I'm assuming all the licensees that use DriveThru RPG are on there. And I've actually never looked to see if Goodman Games is on there because I signed my license years ago. But so if you are thinking about, and I'm seeing more of this, a multi-license strategy for your product, I'm going to market this to DCC players and have a DCC version, and I'm going to have a 5th edition version. I'm going to have an OSC version. DriveThru is a good resource for finding those licenses and being able to view them. Because if I remember correctly, it was just a website with all the different logos of the different partners, and you could just click on them and they would pop up the license or tell you where to go to get it. And
and we're constantly updating our help center to include, as new games come out with new licenses, like now there's you can publish third-party content for Pirate Borg as well as Mork Borg and Cyber Borg.
Yep.
So,
all the boards.
we're always updating it, to make sure that we are staying, as new products come out, we're staying on top of that.
Yeah. So it's another thing that as a third-party publisher you should think about is this is the easier way to find what your content and everything. Like I said, we've talked about a lot. Ed, do you have any final questions for Brooke?
I think what I would like, there were a couple of other miscellaneous things, but I think what I'd rather do, we've got a few minutes left. I think what I would like to do with that time is simply give Brooke the stage and say, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you would like potential publishers to know? What other things would you want to touch to quickly? Let's see. Test question on Twitch. Any chance we can ever get printing on the inside cover pages?
I can say that our print production team is always looking to make sure we are offering things a lot of partners will use. So they are currently researching and reaching out to our top, pod users, people who create a ton of print products on our website, and asking them and sort of getting their feedback on what is it that you want to see that we don't currently offer, like matte covers, for example. And I think that probably printing on the inside cover is one of those things that we're definitely always looking into. If it's something a lot of people want and it's something that our print partner can do, that's something we want to offer to partners. So we're not just complacent. Like, we are always sort of looking to, be and continue to be a marketplace that everyone can use and everyone feels satisfied using.
Sure, absolutely.
And I guess to something that maybe, I don't know, let me think about that. We have a ton of, different tools on our website. I guess that I've probably talked about this a lot, but one thing I think DriveThru really excels at is how dedicated partner relations is to helping out. Like, we don't want anyone to feel left behind. We have a policy where we try to reply to every single email by the end of the day. And that's just to say, maybe we're just looking into it still, but we like to keep people up to date so that they don't feel like they've gotten lost in a sea. We're very hands-on in that way. And so if there is ever any issues you come to, any questions, we can even answer questions about marketing if you have them. We can answer anything, So just reach out to partner relations if you're interested in getting started. And we're always happy to help new people get onboarded. And if I could talk about this very briefly, I am also the host of a show called Design Dash. So we invite 3 creators from community content programs, and we challenge them to write an encounter in 15 minutes. And the exciting thing about this, we used to do this just for Dungeons and Dragons, but we've been able to do this more recently with all of the community content programs. So we've done the DM's Guild for Dungeons and Dragons. We've done Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite. That just came out today. And we've also done Miskatonic Repository for Call of Cthulhu. So we are highlighting creators because we want to inspire partners that it doesn't take, a huge production team. It doesn't take thousands of dollars to create a great product. Sometimes what you need is just 15 minutes to brainstorm. And from that idea, you can really cultivate that and make that into a great product. So with Design Dash, we try to encourage new partners, and we pick the brains of our creators to help people get started. I always like to ask them, what's something you wish you knew when you got started, and questions like that. So I would say Design Dash is also a really great resource if you're interested in publishing, just because we are taking actual creators and really getting to understand their design process and how they got started and how they are where they are today.
That sounds awesome. Brooke, maybe you'll have a DCC one of those. That
would be amazing.
That sounds like a really fun show. And you said that you run it as a podcast, is that right?
We run it as a Twitch show and also upload the video onto the Roll20 app YouTube afterwards. And so the audiences get to vote on their favorite encounter. It's a ton of fun. And I also want to say DCC was the first non-D&D game that I ran, and it was such a blast. So I have so much respect for DCC. I absolutely adore it.
We do too. And that's why we do these things. We are actually getting a lot of very specific publishing questions about options and stuff
Yeah.
in our comments. We're not gonna be able to get to those tonight. But my question is where can these people go? Who do they should they email you guys at partners at Roll20, or who would they talk to about features that they feel are missing from the production line for physical print copies?
Yeah, partnerrelations@roll20.net is our email, and we basically convey all feedback to our print production team, who then goes to work talking to our printers to see what is possible. So if there's anything on our website that you want to see, on our print on demand options that you want to see, anything at all, just reach out to us and we will get that info to the people it needs to go to get that taken care of.
Thank you so much, Brooke. So Sticky Fingers, TSATs, and everybody else who's asking those specific questions, you guys need to reach out to that partner's email address, and we'll post it for you, and make sure that you get your voices heard, so that DriveThru RPG can improve their print production for what you're looking for. Right? I think that's fair to say that everybody's always looking to improve, and if there's a printing technique they don't have or an option they should have, they'd like to hear about it.
Yeah, and our Discord, which is discord.gg/rollthrough. And that I can just type really quickly, is also a great place to put suggestions. We have a suggestion chat for Phoenix, which is our site redesign, and we also have a place where people can talk about print on demand. So that's also a really great forum if you don't want to specifically email us.
Cool. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, we're up against our time wall, so we're going to have to roll. I want to thank Brooke again for joining us. I think this has been a very engaging and informative show. Hope people got stuff out of it. And we'll catch you in another 2 weeks on the Scrivenery.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Good night, folks.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Brooke.